Whether you have been playing Skyblock since the beginning, or you've just recently started playing, you've definitely heard of the Hurricane Bow. Back in the day, this was one of the most overpowered bows in Skyblock, as it was used in a very old dragon meta. I'll get back to that later on in the video, but one quick thing is that YouTube is very glitched right now, and it's randomly unsubscribing people from the channel, so please double check and make sure you're still subscribed. So how good was the Hurricane Bow, and is it still good in the current state of Skyblock? Back in the early Skyblock days, most people used the Hurricane Bow for the dragon boss fight, and the reason for this was because it was extremely overpowered. You could basically use spider boots to double jump above a dragon while it was standing still, and then basically bow spam the Hurricane Bow to deal millions and millions of damage at a time. But the question is, what happened to the bow? After the Hypixel team nerfed the Hurricane Bow, it actually made it become basically useless. What the nerf did is it made it so you have to fully draw the bow back to actually hit a critical hit, but here's an example because it can be quite confusing. On a limp bow shot, you can see that there are no criticals, and then on a fully drawn bow shot, you can see that there are criticals. And because of this, it made it so bow spamming on a dragon is no longer possible for high damage, which kind of influenced everyone to sell the Hurricane Bow, and it completely dropped in price. Even though it doesn't sound real, at the time, I bought myself a DH5 Power 6 Hurricane Bow for only 2 million coins, when that's well worth over 20 mil. To actually craft this bow, you need to go to the bone collection, and you need 10,000 bones unlocked. Now, depending on how many minions you have, it could take a few weeks to actually unlock this collection. So to craft it, what you need is a stack and a half of enchanted bones, and then a stack and a half of regular string. So you can actually get all the materials to craft this bow for a little bit less than 200,000 coins. So now, if we were to say, let's fast forward maybe 8 to 9 months, maybe even up to 10 months later, when Dungeons finally releases, then it actually makes the Hurricane Bow pretty good again. Dungeons added the Dungeoneering skill, and if you're not familiar with anything, I'll do a quick rundown on what they are. So there's the Healer class, the Mage class, Berserk, Archer, and Tank. There are 5 different classes with their own unique abilities. I'm not going to be going through them. The one that I'm going to be looking at, though, is the Archer class. I'm mainly the Archer class in my Dungeon squad. I only do Archer, and that's why I use the Hurricane Bow, because firstly, the Hurricane Bow is amazing. Now, I'll show you how I use this bow in Dungeons in just a minute here. But I just want to quickly say is that the bow is really only good if you're using the Archer class. Now, yes, you can technically use it for other classes, but there's really no reason to, because you shouldn't even have a bow on you if you're another class, unless you're Archer, obviously. So let's take a look at the Archer class. Now, if we take a look at the class passives, you can see that the first one is called Double Shot. I currently have a 66% chance to shoot a second arrow, and on top of the 5 arrows that go out, then you get an extra arrow, which just makes it 6 arrows, which just deals even more damage. It's crazy. Now, Archer also has the Dungeon Stone abilities, which honestly, I don't think it has any impact with the Hurricane Bow. Now, there's one more thing we have to consider. If we talk to Malik and we go to the Essence, you can actually view all of the Essence and basically this. So if we head over to Wither, there's all the Wither Essence you can use to upgrade different weapons. If we head over to Spider, this is where all the bows are. So you can only upgrade the Runon's bow, the Mosquito bow, and the Scorpion bow. So as you see here, there is no Hurricane Bow, so you can't upgrade the Hurricane Bow to be a dungeon item. And basically, a dungeon item, when it's upgraded, you just get a lot of more damage, and it has like a specific gear score, and the better the gear score, the more damage you deal. Maybe they'll be adding this later on, but at the moment, it doesn't seem like the Hurricane Bow is actually in any of the Essence crafting. So in the future dungeon floors, it kind of seems like maybe the Hurricane Bow might not be very good. Unless, of course, they make it so you can upgrade the Hurricane Bow later on in the future, so that it can actually compete with later bows on the dungeon floors. So we kind of started off the video talking about the history of the Hurricane Bow, and there really is not much history behind it. It was really mainly only used for a little bit of a dragon meta, and then after that, it pretty much fell off, and now because of Dungeons being released, it actually makes it somewhat useful again. So what I've really been talking about is that the Hurricane Bow is actually still pretty good, and there's still some use to it. Now, what I typically would do is not run just the Hurricane Bow. You can't do that. It's really not logical to do that, because the Hurricane Bow is really only good close range. For an example, like, there's one mob here, right? All my arrows scattered. So if we go a little bit closer, then we can hit seriously, skeleton pet. If we get a little bit closer, we can hit more than one arrow, and here's all 5. Okay, don't run away. Come, stop moving. And there we go. We can hit all 5 arrows. So of course, if we have a mob that has millions of health, we can be dealing millions of damage with the Hurricane Bow towards it. So I finally made my way into a Dungeons Floor 4 run, and I randomly queued with a party, and it turns out they're actually really good. We had like 3 mages, but beyond that, they were still really high levels, and they kind of carried me through it. But as you see, we can shoot all of our arrows and basically one-hit all of those mobs that are sitting there. And of course, I'm also running with the Bone Meringue, because, well, the Bone Meringue is really good for Skeletors because they can one-hit Skeletors and one-hit the really high-level mobs. Not only is the Hurricane Bow just good in the dungeon floor, it's actually really good in the Thorn boss, which is the floor 4 boss. Another interesting thing is that when you find the spiders area, it's so fun because you can just bow spam the Hurricane and kill them all instantly. But what this reminds me of is, why would the Hurricane Bow not be a convertible item? It just doesn't make sense, because basically every other bow is a convertible item. So if this bow is a convertible item, then it would just make it compete with the other bows, and maybe it'll be even stronger. I guess while we're completing the dungeon right now, I should say that I'm trying to make videos kind of like this, where we talk about like an item, go over a little bit of the history, and then we kind of show off like why it's actually still good in the current state of Skyblock. If you want to see more of those types of videos, or you want me to go over a specific item, just let me know down in the comments, because I take a lot of suggestions, trust me. I'm kind of running out of video ideas. This is what I mean about the Thorn boss fight. There's so many mobs that spawn, and I can sit down here and just bow and hit a lot of them and do a lot of damage. Now, of course, I can also use the Bone Meringue, but still, when you have 30 to 50 mobs with the Hurricane Bow, you can just hit them all at the same time. It's awesome. And then, right now, there's not too many because we're not later on in the boss fight. But as you see, a bunch of wolves right there. We have to kill the Spirit Bear to actually shoot the Spirit Bow at Thorn to make him take damage. And there's also all of these guys. Oh, I just got smacked up. And look at all these chickens. There's so many of them. And they're actually like bombs, so you kind of want to stay away from them. There's some more mobs down here. I guess I'll keep shooting them. But at the end of the day, the Hurricane Bow is still a really good bow to use and a really good bow to have while you're running the Archer class. We killed Thorn. We got an S tier as well. That's awesome. Okay, let's go and check what we got. Please, something good. Please, something. We got trash. Okay, let's check the Emerald chest. We got trash. Diamond chest, nothing. The gold chest, absolutely nothing. And the free chest, trash. That's a bad book. I don't want Feather Falling 6. You can still see though that the Hurricane Bow went from being a decent kind of baddish bow in the game to a pretty good weapon when Dungeons was released, because it has a good use for it now. The 5 arrows splitting up between a bunch of different mobs actually has a good use. Oh, and one quick thing I want to show you guys is that I have my own Badline cloak called the Zap Cloak. The link is in the description. You can actually save 10% off on my cloak if you use the code down below. But I also want to plug that I'm doing a giveaway. The Badline team gives me 3 of my own cloaks to give away every single month. So I do a lot of giveaways with my cloaks every month. And if you want to enter this one, go into my Discord. The link to that is in the video description. And I would recommend just joining the Discord in the first place, because YouTube notifications are really weird. So if you want to be first to the videos, go ahead, join the Discord, enable notifications. That would be awesome, and then you would be able to actually see the videos on time. I honestly don't even want this Feather Falling 6 book. Like, you can just take it. I don't want it.